What if the world you thought was safe could collapse in a single morning? On September 11, 2001, that illusion was shattered. Skyscrapers crumbled, planes turned into weapons, and the modern psyche was split in two. Since then, every airport line, every political debate on security, every creeping sense of distrust has carried the echo of that day. But the deeper question is this: how did 9/11 not only change society, but rewire the very way you and I experience life? To understand the shift, think of the philosopher Thomas Hobbes, who described life without order as nasty, brutish, and short. After 9/11, governments leaned into that fear. They promised order in exchange for freedom, surveillance in exchange for safety. The social contract changed. And millions of people accepted it, because the alternative felt too dangerous. In that moment, Hobbes' vision of fear as the foundation of power became reality again. But the story is not only about governments. It is about the human soul. Before 9/11, the Western world carried a sense of innocence. The Cold War was over, the 1990s were filled with optimism and globalization. Suddenly, as planes fell into towers, that optimism cracked. The German philosopher Heidegger once wrote about the shock of confronting death, calling it the moment of authenticity. For millions watching the towers collapse, it was exactly that. A collective confrontation with mortality and fragility, a realization that no technology, no border, no system could guarantee safety. Looking back, history gives us similar ruptures. When Rome was sacked in the 5th century, people felt the end of the known world. When Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, humanity entered the nuclear age with new fear stitched into its psyche. 9/11 was our generation's rupture. It reshaped how we imagine the future, replacing the dream of endless progress with an awareness of precarity. In the years after, this fear grew into division. Us versus them became a global mantra. Entire populations were marked as suspicious. Airports turned into zones of suspicion where identity itself was scanned and judged. The French philosopher Michel Foucault once wrote that modern power operates through surveillance, through making people visible. Post 9/11, this became literal. Cameras multiplied, governments tapped phones, algorithms started profiling. What began as a fight against terror became a new architecture of control that now defines our daily lives. But the most profound shift is inside you. The psyche learned new patterns: vigilance, mistrust, scanning for threat. Even if you were a child in 2001 or born after, you live in a culture shaped by that vigilance. Think of how many films, books, and games since then are about collapse, apocalypse, dystopia. Our imagination now carries the shadow of 9/11 everywhere. And yet, there is also possibility in this awareness. Philosopher Hannah Arendt once said that crisis tears away the facade and forces us to look at what is essential. If 9/11 revealed anything, it is that our illusions of certainty can vanish, but that also means we are forced to design new ways of living. Looking at our time, the question is no longer whether danger exists. It always does. The deeper question is whether we choose fear or awareness. Will you accept surveillance, division, and paranoia as the permanent legacy of 9/11, or will you transform the lesson into deeper consciousness, a society that balances security with freedom, and a personal life that embraces vulnerability without being ruled by it? The future will depend on how we answer. In the coming decades, the scars of 9/11 will echo in new crises. But scars are also reminders that healing is possible. You have the power to carry this awareness forward not as fear, but as clarity. If you want to keep exploring how philosophy and history connect to the challenges of today, subscribe to our channel now. Together, we can turn crisis into insight and fear into wisdom.